500 kilogram, that's the standard warhead most ballistic missiles carry. Iran just fired one with 1,500 kilograms, triple the explosive power, and it hit an oil refinery. I've spent years analyzing weapons systems that never make headlines until they change wars. The Khorramshahr 4 just changed this one. And what nobody's telling you is that the difference between 500 and 1,500 kilograms isn't just bigger explosions. It's the difference between damaging a target and erasing it from existence. I'm Kane Shimatsuka, and over the next few minutes I'm going to show you exactly why this weapon matters more than any missile count you've seen on cable news. Here's what I noticed first when Iranian state media released footage in May 2023. The dimensions: 13 meters long, liquid fuel propellant, two-stage rocket motor, 2,000-kilometer range. Standard specifications for a medium-range ballistic missile. But then I saw the warhead specs. 1,500 kilograms of high explosive. I stopped. Pulled up comparison data. Shahab 3 carries 750 kilograms. Imad carries 750. Khaybar Sheikhan carries 550. Every Iranian missile in the current inventory maxes out around 750 kilograms. The Khorramshahr 4 carries twice that. Some variants possibly more. Why does that number matter? Because I've studied what happens when warheads hit reinforced targets. And the physics don't lie. Most people think explosions scale linearly. Double the explosive, double the damage. That's wrong. Overpressure scales exponentially. Overpressure is the shockwave force that actually destroys structures. Reinforced concrete bunkers, underground command centers, buried fuel tanks, they're all engineered to withstand specific overpressure thresholds. A 500-kilogram warhead detonating near a hardened target might crack exterior walls, damage surface systems, maybe compromise secondary structures, but the core survives. The target goes offline temporarily, gets repaired, comes back online. A 1,500-kilogram warhead doesn't crack walls, it collapses them. The blast radius expands beyond design tolerances. The shockwave penetrates deeper than engineers anticipated when they poured that concrete 20 years ago. And when critical infrastructure designed to survive conventional strikes gets hit by something 3 times more powerful than conventional, the word repair stops meaning anything. You're looking at months of reconstruction, maybe longer, and Iran has already used it. The IRGC hasn't published detailed target lists, but Iranian media confirmed Khorramshahr 4 deployment during recent strike waves. One confirmed target was an oil refinery complex. The exact facility remains undisclosed by both sides. That tells me something. When neither side wants to confirm which refinery got hit, the damage was probably worse than anyone wants to admit publicly, because oil refineries aren't soft targets. They're industrial fortresses. Thick concrete housings around distillation towers. Pressurized storage systems designed to contain volatile hydrocarbons. Fire suppression infrastructure built for catastrophic failures. A conventional missile might rupture a storage tank, trigger secondary fires, shut down operations for days. A 1,500-kilogram warhead landing inside the processing complex? That's not a shutdown. That's demolition. Let me put this in context you can measure. Israel operates 2 oil refineries, Bazan in Haifa, Paz in Ashdod. Together they supply 60 to 70% of Israel's domestic fuel needs. There are no backup facilities. If one refinery goes offline completely, fuel imports have to replace the gap immediately. And right now, the Strait of Hormuz is functionally closed. Over 150 commercial vessels sitting anchored outside the strait. Insurance companies triggered war risk cancellation clauses. No shipping operator can legally transit because no insurer will cover them, so Gulf imports are cut off. European supply lines are strained. And if Israel loses one of its 2 refineries to a Khorramshahr 4 strike, the economic damage compounds in real time. Fuel rationing, price spikes, supply chain paralysis. Military operations require fuel. If supply is constrained, operational tempo suffers. That's not speculation. That's arithmetic. But here's the part that keeps me up at night. The Khorramshahr 4 isn't perfect. It has vulnerabilities. And those vulnerabilities tell you something about how Iran plans to use it. The missile uses liquid fuel. That's the trade-off for the heavy warhead. Liquid fuel can't sit loaded on a mobile launcher indefinitely like solid fuel systems. It's volatile, degrades over time, requires careful handling. Before launch, the missile has to be fueled. That process creates a vulnerability window. Fuel trucks arrive at the launch site, technicians fill the missile, systems get checked, satellites can detect that activity, drones can track fuel convoys. Signals intelligence can intercept launch preparation communications. Once preparation is identified, the site can be struck before the missile fires. That's the asymmetry. Solid fuel missiles like Khaybar Sheikhan can hide and fire with minimal preparation. Khorramshahr 4 requires exposed fueling time. Iran mitigates that risk with hardened underground facilities and rapid fueling procedures. But the risk remains. The second vulnerability is accuracy. A 1,500 kilogram warhead is devastating if it hits the target, but if it misses by 200 meters and detonates in an open field, you just wasted $6 million and exposed a launch site for nothing. Iranian ballistic missiles use inertial guidance supplemented by satellite navigation. Accuracy has improved over the past decade, but these aren't precision-guided munitions. Circular error probable, the metric measuring missile accuracy, sits around 50 to 100 meters for Iran's most advanced systems. That means half of all missiles fired land within 50 to 100 meters of the aim point. For a target like an oil refinery covering hundreds of acres, that's acceptable. The warhead doesn't need to hit a specific building. It just needs to land somewhere inside the complex. The blast radius handles the rest, but for smaller precise targets like command bunkers or communication nodes, lower accuracy becomes a problem. You might need multiple missiles to guarantee a hit, and then there's cost. The Khorramshahr 4 is expensive. Liquid fuel missiles require more sophisticated engineering than solid fuel systems. The guidance is complex. The warhead is 3 times larger than standard payloads. Estimates suggest $4 to $6 million per unit. That's significantly more than Khaybar Shikan at around $1 million. If Iran has a limited stockpile, it can't waste them on low-value targets. They have to be reserved for strategic strikes where the heavy warhead justifies the cost. Which brings me to the question nobody can answer definitively. How many Khorramshahr 4 missiles does Iran actually have? Western intelligence produces estimates based on production facility assessments, test launch observations, signals intercepts. Open source analysis suggests Iran produced between 50 and 100 Khorramshahr-class missiles over the past 5 years. Not all are the Variant 4. Some are older Khorramshahr 2 models with smaller warheads. If we assume 30 to 50 operational Khorramshahr 4s before the war started, and if Iran fired 10 to 15 during the first 9 days of conflict, that leaves maybe 20 to 40 remaining. Those are rough estimates. The real number could be higher, could be lower, but the strategic implication stays the same. Iran cannot sustain high-tempo Khorramshahr 4 strikes indefinitely. The stockpile is finite. Every launch depletes inventory. But as long as Iran retains operational missiles, it retains the ability to conduct devastating strikes against hardened high-value targets. And Israel has to defend against every single one, because the cost of a single penetration is catastrophic. Israeli air defense is designed to intercept ballistic missiles. Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 target threats at different altitudes. Interception rates are classified, but public assessments suggest success rates above 80% under optimal conditions. But optimal conditions don't exist in war. Missiles arrive in salvos. Decoys complicate tracking. Electronic warfare degrades radar performance. Every interception is a probability calculation. If Israel's defense achieves an 85% interception rate, that means 15% of incoming missiles penetrate. If Iran fires 20 Khorramshahr 4s at Israeli refineries, 3 get through. 3 1,500 kilogram warheads detonating inside refinery complexes. That's enough to cripple Israel's domestic fuel production for months. And the economic cost of defending against those 20 missiles is staggering. An Arrow interceptor costs approximately $4 to $5 million. If Israel fires 25 interceptors to stop 20 incoming Khorramshahr 4s, that's $100 to $125 million in interceptor costs alone. And if 3 missiles still penetrate, Israel just spent $125 million and still took catastrophic infrastructure damage. That's the math of asymmetric warfare. The attacker chooses when and where to strike. The defender has to protect everything. Iran fires 20 Khorramshahr 4s for roughly $100 million. Israel spends $125 million on interceptors. Both sides lose economically, even if the defense succeeds. The first 100 hours of what the Pentagon called Operation Epic Fury cost the United States $3.7 billion. Israel's operational costs remain classified, but almost certainly in the billions. Iran's official position, stated publicly by President Pezeshkian, is that Iran will not capitulate. Trump's position remains unconditional surrender. There is no negotiation, there is no functional diplomatic channel, and as long as the war continues, Iran will keep firing heavy warhead missiles at high-value targets, because the numbers prove they work. But here's what keeps me analyzing satellite imagery at 3 a.m. The production timeline. Iran's missile manufacturing facilities produce an estimated 40 to 60 ballistic missiles annually across all variants. That's total production, not just Khorramshahr 4s. If Iran burns through 30 operational Khorramshahr 4s in the first month of this war, replacement production takes years, plural, and I'm watching who else is watching. China hasn't said a word publicly about Iran's heavy warhead deployment. Beijing's defense analysts are absolutely studying every Khorramshahr 4 launch, every interception attempt, every penetration. They're mapping Israeli air defense response times. They're calculating Arrow stockpile depletion rates. Because every Arrow interceptor Israel fires at a Khorramshahr 4 over Tel Aviv is one fewer Arrow interceptor available for the scenario Pentagon planners actually lose sleep over: Taiwan, the Western Pacific, the theater where American commitments exceed American capacity by the widest margin. Iran is providing China with the most valuable combat data Beijing could ask for: real-world testing of American-backed missile defense under sustained heavy warhead attacks, and China isn't paying a single yuan for it. Most ballistic missiles carry 500 kilograms. The Khorramshahr 4 carries 1,500. That's triple the destructive power. Blast radius expands. Overpressure increases. Hardened targets that survive smaller warheads get erased. Iran used it against oil refineries. A single hit can disable critical infrastructure for months. Israel operates 2 refineries, supplying most domestic fuel. If one goes offline, there's no backup. Fuel imports from the Gulf are cut, the strait is closed. Western estimates suggest 30 to 50 operational Khorramshahr 4s remain. Every launch depletes the stockpile, but every missile that penetrates causes catastrophic damage. Arrow interceptors cost $4 to $5 million each. The economic math favors neither side. Production cannot keep pace with consumption. The war depletes both arsenals faster than either country can rebuild them. Iran won't negotiate. Trump demands surrender. And somewhere in western Iran, another Khorramshahr 4 sits in a hardened facility, waiting to be fueled, waiting for coordinates, waiting for the order to launch.